can't stop fantasizing about you.
Oh, mostly I'm just excited that I figured the video part out. Oh my goodness, that was way too complicated. It didn't need to be, but then I was like, just committed.
Yeah, I know, but it was great, and it worked. Just took a little bit of persistence, right?
Right, but here I am still trying to get onto Instagram, so it almost did what it was supposed to do. Hi, friends, and anybody else that's out there. Guess what? It's like an early bird special because I'm a parent sometimes, and I forgot that there's like a school calendar I have to maintain. So I got to go to like a school meeting. So good news, my friend here, Mandy, you see her in the corner there. She's East Coast, so this works out for her anyway. So maybe we'll call this like the East Coast stream, even though it's new for some people. It's better for you guys, right?
This is great for me. I love that it's not like 8 or 9 p.m. I'm still somewhat awake. So
this is good news. So look, convenience for everybody. Okay, I'm gonna stop messing with the technology and I'm gonna do my thing here because I'm like waiting for people to get on, but it might not happen.
All right.
Well, or it could happen, but I'm just like, oh, I'm remembering it's a little bit early. But what's good is, people always come back like a little bit afterwards and then we can do all the things. Okay. Now Instagram's being mad. Why not? It's cool. We'll just see. So hi everybody. I'm Tori and this is Mandy, and we'll get into her fabulousness here in a minute when I stop jerking around with all my things here. And if you're new here, for the most part, I'm streaming on this fabulous page, and mostly the P3 page, which for those of you that don't know is the Pleasures Professional page. Believe it or not, we do a lot of stuff on Facebook right now. And you know what? I'm here for it. It's what's working for everybody. So I'm trying to bring more resources and more people and maybe some education or entertainment to what this, I think the group is maybe working on being 4 years old now. And there's over 3,000 people there. So
wow.
I'm just trying to focus, getting some newness. And this all kind of stemmed from, for anybody that didn't know, hello, I'm Tori, your sales director at Paradise Marketing. But before that, you might have known me as one of your lubricant people. I was a sales director out in the industry. And I did 8 years there and moved over. So actually 10 years I've been in the kind of like adult retail industry, coming up in November, right? So I've kind of took what I learned from lube and figured it was going to be very easy to put into condoms. And in some ways it was, but really it wasn't, because I felt like there was a lot of, as I'm going to call it, gatekeeping. It's not intentional, but it not just, how to set up a business or sell sexual enhancements, wellness, even speak to some people that are walking in and out of your door. But definitely when it came to condoms, I'm like, I didn't even know there was like a sizing chart. I thought I was like hot shit. I'm like, I at least know they're different materials because, condoms and lube have to be compatible with one another. Mm-hmm. And like, boy, was I wrong. And then as I've kind of just been, as I call it, I like, sit out here. I was like, and I'm just talking to the ether. A lot of friends in the industry or other mentors kind of come to me and kind of kept this going and inspiring it. So now it's like a little bit of a platform for everybody, that I'm trying to bridge that gap between like extra information and support and mentorship within this industry. So that being said, I've spoken to the ether again, not only created the show, but you'll know our friend Kiana. I'll try to tag her when this goes up a little bit later too. She introduced me to our friend here that we're just gonna give all the love and attention and support to and ask a lot of questions because again, she's like a great resource. I wanted to make sure if anybody is looking for something like this, they're able to get to her. So we'll do all that. But I'll go ahead and let Mandy do her thing, right? Like, hey, who are you? What you doing? Why are you here? How did I hook you into all of this?
I'll give you my spiel. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, thank you so much for coming and being flexible.
Yeah, of course. I am happy to show up and talk about my work at Woodhull wherever folks will have me. It's led me to some very interesting venues, that is for sure. But yes, and also thank you to Kiana, who, by the way, I just have to say, she is such an excellent networker. She just like cold messaged me on LinkedIn one day and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about what you do. And she's turned into an awesome ally in this industry. And I really look up to that.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Especially since it's like she's a similar should have told her we like moved it. Maybe she would have gotten on and like she'll see this later. We'll be like, yeah, no, we love you. But no, her and I have a similar relationship where she was just again speaking into the ether, which is why we're friends and now the Mandy's here. Because she just like what they say when you do something that you like, you never truly work a day in your life. Yes, it's still work, but it makes it that much easier when you're like, I always say give a shit, but like, right, she cares.
Yeah.
And so big shout out to Kiana there, because like then I ended up getting to like meet her in person, because I was like, oh, I'm at a convention in Vegas, you're at a convention in Vegas, so it's been fun. I got to pay it back in the show, right?
Yeah, I love when that happens. Isn't it amazing when you meet people and you realize they have a whole body below their shoulders?
Oh, it's so funny because I forget, like, it was like, honestly, like people you meet on the internet, and then I get the, wow, you're taller than I would think. It's like, that's interesting. But yeah, for the most part, I'm like, oh my goodness, you have like a body. Like, I always just assumed you were just like up here. Everything else is just like jeans. That's all, like you the rest of it is just like you're wearing jeans or something.
Yeah, it is wild. But anyways, I should introduce myself. I feel like you and I could sit here and like chit chat all night.
I think sometimes that's like what I think people like about the show, is that it turns into what it turns into, and maybe there's like a joke or a pun or like a good happy connection. But also I understand the ADHD in me will like go, oh, we gotta just did. So yes, thank you for keeping me accountable on my own show, Mandy. Oh wait, we could do it real. We could do it real. We'll start over here, real professional, like, right, Mandy. Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to work with Woodhull Freedom Foundation, what it is, and like, what drives you to give a shit, right?
Yeah. So Woodhull Freedom Foundation, for folks who don't know, is a human rights advocacy organization, and we're focused on sexual freedom as a fundamental human right. And I started out in pure sex ed. In college, I was the girl like giving out condoms in the dining hall.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Because like I'm trying to be like a sex educator now, maybe because I didn't realize being in this space, I take it seriously that a lot of people are coming to me with questions that I cannot answer, but I'm like, I didn't realize I needed to have a sexual wellness education or certification. I mean, at least I know a lot of great people I can send them to, but it's a big, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, well, we don't have consistent, comprehensive sex education in this country, which is why you end up having to do a lot of education. And for folks tuning in who are working in stores or working in this space at all, I'm sure they have similar experiences. I know I spent a little bit of time working in an adult boutique in Philadelphia, and it was the same thing. I of course like sold things and talked about products, but I felt like I spent most of my time talking about sex and relationships and like answering questions that I thought were really basic, but actually were not basic at all to the average
like most people
American.
don't know these things, like, and that's again, for my authenticity. I know we talked about it, but I was like, I thought I was pretty smart. I knew a little bit about condoms, but also it's the lifting of the veil of like, oh wow, I really don't know what I don't know, because if I had done this for 8 years in a pretty like, at the time talked about lube and penises and whatever else and relationships more than the average bear, and I didn't know some of these things.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the wonderful things is like, I feel like it's a real privilege to be able to talk to folks about these issues in a way that is safe, right? Because we have so much shame around sex and sexuality in this country, and so I really considered it a privilege when folks would walk into the shop and I would get to talk to them about, whatever, in like a very non-judgmental, shame-free space. And
Absolutely.
What I do at Woodhull is kind of, similar but different. I'm talking to legislators now about sexual freedom. Not as fun as working in the shop.
And I so don't want to like, I don't know, project or trigger you, but I'm like, oh my God, imposter syndrome just like triggered for me. I'm like, that'd be so cool. But also be like, oh my God, if I ever did it, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm talking to like, cause I guess sometimes I go through that in trying to be what my friend calls it, step into my, like, I've always been like a director, but maybe not like a big like VP director kind of thing. So like stepping into like your big director shoes. I'm like, oh my God, that would be like the perfect example of like, this is my goal, but what happens when I do it?
Yeah, I've had that moment for sure. I have that moment a lot, particularly like you never quite know what somebody's going to ask you, right? I feel like when you put this topic of sexuality on the table, people are just going to kind of ask you whatever comes to mind. And when you're like, I call it like business drag, when I'm all dressed up and I'm like at a state house or whatever, and a staffer will ask me something about sex, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm having an alien experience here, of like,
Yeah,
I
you're like,
never expected to be having this conversation with you in this place, but here we are. So like, let's make the most of it. Right.
yeah, you're like, I had no idea. But again, right, like after so many, I don't know, after some of this could be another fun game later. Like after so many encounters, what's like your least favorite thing to hear anymore? It's never anybody that comes to me with like a serious question, right? Like if
Mhm.
you actually want help, you're never the person, just in case anybody's out there on my side of the table, you're never the person that, we're going to come at you and judge you or like you're annoying. That's what we're here for. I can list off the people, that maybe walk up to me at a trade show and they're like, oh, well, what do you sell? Condoms? What's that? When was the last
Yeah.
time I used one? Oh, but can you give me some for free then? It's like,
Right.
all right, hey, I will still use that time to educate you, but no, this is the space of people like, we really want you, asking these questions, because again, if you didn't know, I guarantee somebody did it. I maybe you haven't heard this story because you don't have to deal with my trainings all the time. So I was recently at well, not recently. The first part of the story happens a year ago, but I had to bring up the story again recently when I was at a training in Dallas here for the Condoms to Go stores, which just fantastic and very educated people. But I had a whole like slide on like how to put on a condom, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I know this sounds simple, like to you guys, but I was training another person in another store and they did not have this education. And I was like going through sizing and, how to talk about them and how to sell. And the poor person looks at me and he was like, oh, this is great, but what do you do about the balls? I'm like, how do you put the balls in the condom? I was like, oh, the testicles do not go in there. But again,
Right.
this is like, you would think it's common knowledge, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Right. Or people don't know how they don't know how to talk about it. I know I struggle with like, what's the verbiage, with the
Mhm.
polite way to say things, because it is changing a lot.
Yeah, it's tough, and in that moment, it sounds like that person was very genuine, and every once in a while, you get a question like that, and it kind of takes you back, right? And like for me, it is a good reminder that you never really know who's in the room, right? And this is a good
Sure.
example. Like, I don't know who's listening to this. I could say sexual freedom, human rights, and they could be like, what is that? And I have gotten that a lot. People are like, so sexual freedom, what do you mean by that? That's probably the question I get most frequently, actually.
Well, let's do it. Like, right. What is sexual freedom, and why is it a crucial part of what you do at the foundation, and just, basic human rights?
Yeah. Sexual freedom to us means basic bodily autonomy. So I should get to do with my body what I want to or don't want to do with it. And you should get to do with your body what you want or don't want to do with it. As long as, you're 18 and consenting, like we believe people should have freedom to make their own choices without interference from the government or an outside force sort of controlling that. But it's more than about just sex, more than about just intercourse. Like we believe it extends to identity, sexual orientation, even speech, right? A lot of the folks listening probably have experienced some form of censorship when they're trying to talk about their work online, particularly on certain social media platforms. I can say from experience that Woodhull's Instagram gets shadow banned pretty regularly, like right now. Um,
That's insane to me.
yeah, it's really frustrating because we understand there's a time and a place for explicit content, of course, right? We don't want anybody under 18 seeing something that is not meant for them, that's not appropriate. But
Right.
I don't think just the word sex falls into that category. And it's so frustrating to me when I'm writing Woodhull social media and I'm having to, sort of make the choice. Do I write SEGGS or, put like an
I mean,
asterisk?
could they just write the word?
Yeah, so that's why we get shadow banned, because I kind of decided a while ago that I was not going to do that anymore. I was not going to play their game because I wasn't doing anything wrong. in using the correct words. And in fact, I think trying to fight against stigma and shame means using the right words. Because if we're going to change the words, if we're going to change how we talk about these things, to me, it's kind of giving into the censors, giving into the sex negative folks out there. And so, that means that I will have to appeal Woodhull's status with Instagram on a very regular basis, which I do.
Well, I'm here. I'm giving you vibes for when you have to keep appealing, right? We can start writing hilarious appeals together. We'll help you out wherever you need. It's not easy, but yeah, it's part of the job. I always talk about there's a lot of like the job that like, oh, you get to go to Vegas or whatever. People, there's a lot of glamour in the adult industry, but also, or people find it very, very interesting. And like, now you're like the cool, curious person, but also it's like, oh my God, no, like if you're actually going to do this job well, there's a lot you do not see happen at all. Things like this, right? I have to just keep my social media open for my business. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. You have to spend a lot more time fighting with these platforms just to exist with an account, right? Let alone the process of having to create content. I know it's very frustrating that I can't speak to every social platform's guidelines, but I know on Meta, when it comes to ads, the products have to be wellness and you can't talk about pleasure or else they won't let you post them. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Why is pleasure dirty?
Isn't pleasure a big part of it? Yeah. And it's like a big part of your general wellness as well.
Right.
Also, there's sometimes, right, logic never sometimes makes sense for me. There's 100 years of studies on erections or the dysfunction of an erection, right? When only 20% of like maybe 19% of men struggle with that, and we have less than 50 years, maybe even less than that, of like women's study, and like even on just PMS, and 80% of women suffer from PMS. So there's a lot of logic out there. I'm not like trying to shame anybody or like that's not trying to be political or like place blame. I'm just like, no, this is the world we've inherited. You were kind of talking about making sure you use the correct words. I was going to say, it's the same. Changing your verbiage. You can't. It's the same. You can't start to. What is it? Everybody's biased in their mind too, right? So even if you're just like, I'm trying to say the right words, but maybe I don't like saying the word, like, I don't know. Let's see if we get banned. Vulva. Right.
Yeah.
That's maybe not my favorite word to say, even if my brain says it, or if it's different, and you can't get over your own self-bias unless you like experience it as well.
Yeah.
Right? You have to practice like anything else.
Yeah. You got to be exposed to all these different things. And like these are body parts. That's the thing, right? Like it's not a 4-letter word. It's not a swear word. Like, people have these things. It's part of the plumbing, it's very frustrating. And it's very, we feel that it's also a violation of our human right to free expression. Of course, in the US, corporations have rights, these social media companies are corporations, and, whether we like it or not, they have free speech rights. Doesn't mean we have to like it, and doesn't mean we have to live with it. Right. So for us, it's continuing to post our content, which is really good content. It's educational, it's about advocacy. And we're just going to keep fighting. We're just going to keep fighting them. And, hopefully enough people will continue to adopt that strategy and make a change,
to start a precedent. You just have to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes you just got to show up and keep doing the thing. And, for us at Woodhull, we have these channels to provide educational content, right? And to try to get people interested in our advocacy and our work. We're not a business, but there are a lot of businesses out there that rely on these platforms to make money, to feed their families, to pay the bills. And so for us, where it gets very, very frustrating. And that's where I see a lot of crossover between our work at Woodhull and the folks who are probably listening, who are part of the adult industry, is like, we've recognized that this kind of censorship that is a human rights violation also has a direct impact on your bottom line. And so we're out there having these conversations with legislators and trying to stop a lot of the legislation that influences social media companies to behave the way they do, because it wasn't always this way, right? This censorship online has drastically increased in the last couple of years. And I have a theory that that is related to a piece of legislation called FOSTA, which is the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act that passed in 2018, that had a lot to do with what kind of content is appropriate to be online. And I won't get into all of that because
I was going to say, oh my goodness, this would be a great, because I'm the Free Speech Coalition does, hangs out in this space a lot, and we do a lot to try to support them and what they're doing, and I know that's been a big topic of conversation.
Yeah,
and I was just going to say, if we can like tangent a little bit, maybe not necessarily on that, but just in general, sometimes when I start to bring this up, people get a very like interesting feeling like I'm pro sex trafficking on the internet or children not being safe on the internet and having structure and guidance. It's like no, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying like the intention of the guidelines have gone askew, right? I just needed to disclaim that. It's like, yes, here's maybe what the intention was, but this is how it is written and how it is being processed, and it is not working.
Right, exactly. Like it doesn't benefit us for minors or kids to be able to access things that are not good for them, that are not made for them. It's not good for them, and it's not good for the people in this space trying to exist, trying to make money, right?
What, you're not sitting there creeping on the internet all day while you're trying to get shadow banned? Like, right, yeah, you can't, I shouldn't, and I'm not able to sell any of these products online, but you're killing my business because you think lingerie is sexual in nature or lubricant, so to speak, right? That's a medical device. And a lot of those companies have to, tiptoe around and get really creative just to let people know that their company exists.
Yeah. Which is, creativity is not bad, of course, but these companies that are already in a difficult space because of, stigma and all the other things we've talked about, then have to work 3 times as hard just to get any tiny bit of digital real estate to be able to talk about these things, and I've heard a lot of folks who are in this industry also are losing their LinkedIn accounts for talking about this stuff. And it's like, well, wait a second. LinkedIn is a place for folks in business to be able to connect with one another and talk about their industries. And, as long as you're not doing anything explicit, I see no reason to be kicking folks off that platform, particularly when we're trying to have community with one another. So, there's a lot there. I would also say that while well-intentioned, a lot of this legislation is not written by people who know how the internet works. And so that's a big flaw in some of it. And, to be honest, most of what I end up talking about when I'm talking to legislators or staffers is just like explaining the basics of like what's possible with technology, what's not, and why, even if you write it in a bill, doesn't mean we can make it happen. So sometimes I don't even get to talk about the sexy stuff because we're just talking about the like, hey, that thing you put in that bill, that's not possible.
I get that all the time. Like, oh, you're going to whatever, you're going ABN, Tori. This seems so fun. And like, da, 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 da. Like, yeah, but it's still work. Like like, oh, you've got like a training, or you get to go like see all these adult stores. I'm like, yes, it is super fun, but it's most of the time I'm talking about profit margin and inventory and merchandising like anything else. It's not, this is not what the imagination that you automatically go to. It's not that at all.
Right. It's business, just like any other industry.
Hey, we're putting food on the table too, right? I got medical insurance. There's like I've gotten great, not just manufacturing experience, but in medical devices. Like it's, just because they've only been like around for the last 50 years in our post sort of industry social phase of life doesn't mean that, there's not. Anyway, that's a whole different tangent. I guess that like tees us up for like the next little like, a segment where I kind of wanted to talk about how can, for any of the listeners and especially anybody in adult retail, I always try to be like, okay, well, how do I put this back to somebody who wants to make money on a business side, right? Like this is all great. But also I know times have been tough for people and, I got a boss, I got to be accountable and stuff too, where it's like, okay, but like, where's the ROI, so to speak? How does kind of like whatever your organization's work, related to the business of pleasure or retail. How can that help any of the companies that are out there supporting, like, that want to support sexual freedom? Like, what's the best way to join together?
Well, I will say one of the best things folks can do is tell us what's going on, right? Like Woodhull is a resource. There's so few advocacy organizations out there who are talking about these issues. It's Woodhull, Free Speech Coalition, and like maybe one or two others. And we're all very teeny tiny organizations.
And that's it,
So
guys, in the entire like United States.
yeah, there's not a lot of us, for all of the reasons we've already talked about. Like, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. So one of the things I love to tell folks is, one, we can't be everywhere all of the time. So if there is something going on in your community, I know a lot of the businesses here are probably small local businesses. Reach out to us. Like, let us know what's happening. Our website's woodhullfoundation.org or Woodhull Freedom on all social media platforms. We have a like support request on our website. So if something is happening, even at like the town council level of your community, reach out to us. Let us know. We can always, look at it, and maybe there's some way we can help. Maybe we can lend our voice. Maybe we can come in and say like, hey, this thing you're trying to do, this business, that's a human rights violation, and here's why. Sometimes giving communities that framework is really, really helpful. So that would be my first thing, is just like, know that we're here, use this as a resource. My email is mandy@woodhullfoundation.org. Like, you can send me an email. My inbox is always open. So that would be the first thing. The second thing I would say is that existing online and putting out content that is accurate and kind of trying to fight the censors while staying within the guidelines, like, please keep doing that. I really want to empower businesses. I know it's so hard to get your stuff out there, but one of the ways that we let the censors win is by censoring ourselves before they even get a chance to. And so if you're in a position to put out good content, like, please keep doing it. Please keep making your voice heard. And as a business owner, you all are also, or, not even owners, just like members of communities, you all have voices and you all have power. And please make those voices heard with your local legislators and let them know what's going on and what's important to you as a citizen. That's all really good stuff. We have a newsletter that we send out, every other week. That's a roundup of what's going on with sexual freedom issues. Sexual freedom is a big umbrella. There's a lot of topics under that tent. We do our best to round up like biggest news stories and send those out every other week. And we send you a little bit at the top of that newsletter about what Woodhull is doing. Where have we been? Who have we been speaking to? What legislation have we been talking about? And so I would encourage folks, that's a really good way to stay informed. If you want to learn more about our issues, sign up for our newsletter. And
you can always come back here and tell us what's going on too, anytime you'd like, right? We'd have like a little Mandy section, like, hey, by the way, because like, right, you as we were talking about, you have to not only give a shit about what you're doing, but we can't be everywhere now that I've adopted you into my little Dumbledore army, right? Like, but
I love it.
Even if we just inspire one person, like, I know I can't change the world, and some people want to be like, okay, well, you're not going to change everybody's thought, but it's like, I get that, but maybe I can inspire a couple of people that didn't know that they had a different option.
Yeah. Of course. That's the best way to do it. And like I said, I'm happy to talk about what we're doing anywhere. I'm happy to show up anywhere. If folks are at the industry events, our president and CEO, Ricky Levy, will be at XBiz in LA in January.
How exciting. I don't know if I'm going yet, but now this is good.
Yeah, but I think we're going to try to present. So if folks are there and want to learn more about us and speak to Ricky, that would be great. And I pop up. I live in New York City. So if you are also ever looking for a speaker or something in New York, let me know. Like, again, happy to show up wherever I am helpful. And, I just want to say, like, if folks are ever able, we are a nonprofit. And so if you do have a few dollars to throw at us, like, we very much appreciate it. Woodhullfoundation.org/donate. And they're
tax deductible, people.
Yes, we are a 501c3. Those donations are tax deductible. I'm always happy to talk to folks about sponsorship as well. So, I'm happy to have those conversations about ROI and, what Woodhull can bring to the table
Welcome
other
to the
than just,
army. Yes,
yes,
we can mix business and pleasure, right? In the sense that
absolutely.
they're all part of wellness. Again,
Yes.
my soapboxes. Yes, I don't know when lube gets a bad rap for this too. It's like, when did safety and pleasure become not the same thing?
Yeah, because how can you feel pleasure if you're feeling unsafe?
I would think so. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. That's a different soapbox, but maybe that's
Yes.
just our whole other podcast we invent later. And
Yeah.
yes, all the things. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. See, I'm less feisty at 3:30, but this is good. The good content's probably coming out. You guys haven't gotten like truly like 5 p.m. Tori. Look at this. This is good. Thank you, East Coast friends. Okay.
Yeah.
But I do have to slightly wrap up because my thing
Okay.
is at like 30. And I told myself I was going to try. At one point, there were like an hour and 10-minute episodes. And I was like, okay, that's a little much. I got to tone it down. Right. So
Yeah.
I would love to have you back anytime though, and
Sure.
learn just so much. We could just like talk about like 18 of those points, like a whole hour that we made today. So I love it. Thank you so much for being here. But
Yep.
before we wrap, I make jokes about condoms sometimes. I wanted to give you some time to just share any like words of wisdom, I like to call them. I have a friend of mine, as she likes to call it, she's entering in her crone phase. So I have to like make sure that there's space for anybody to spread their wisdom where they're at. Or just, on top of it, feel free to shameless plug and just tell us anything exciting you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. The only wisdom I have is to just like keep plugging along. I know times are tough out there, but I want you all to know, even if you have never heard of Woodhull, we are out there talking about these issues. We are out there calling our lawmakers out about these issues. And so, it doesn't matter to us if you've never heard of us, if you've never shown us any love, if you've never donated, doesn't matter. We're going to keep doing the work we're doing because we're really, really passionate. We've been around for 21 years and I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. So that's my only I think those are more words of encouragement than they are wisdom.
Hey, that's perfect though. Isn't the same
Yeah.
thing sometimes in my head anyways? I say it's the
Some
same thing.
Sometimes it is. And so folks, I would just say please feel free to reach out to me. Again, Mandy at woodhullfoundation.org is my email, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or I'm the person behind the curtain on all of Woodhull's social media channels. So if you just follow us on Woodhull and DM us, you're going to get me. So I would love to talk to folks and learn about what concerns you, what's going on. So please reach out. Please consider me a resource today, tomorrow, 10 years in the future. Doesn't matter. I will be around. And the other thing I just want to plug is I do a monthly virtual program. It's free. It's on Zoom. And it's all about the censorship of sexual freedom. So every month it's a different topic under that umbrella. This month, it's actually this Friday, the 27th at 2:00 Eastern. And it's about sexual freedom in the digital age. So we're talking about what does that look like? What is sexual freedom when we are living our lives online?
Great. Be sure to send me, or if you have like a little thumbnail and stuff, because I'll repost it onto this P3 page if you're not already planning on doing that, and just be like, hey, that's like a great free resource for anybody. That's fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of the old ones, all the programs we've already run are on our YouTube page. So you can watch them at any time. We want it to be as accessible to people as possible. That's part of our mission, is just making education and resources easy to find and free. So yeah, they're all there. I will definitely
no
post them.
gatekeeping here, no shaming here. It's just, hey, if you've got a question and we don't have an answer, I like how it added me because, I'm making my own family here. So it's like, if we don't know, we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get a lot of questions every day I don't know the answer to, but I'm usually connected to somebody who does. So I'm very happy to hear from folks with questions, and do the best I can to answer them. And I will absolutely post that in the Facebook page. I've got all my graphics and links and stuff ready. So I'll do that before I shut my laptop for the evening.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, because you can post that stuff. I know some people are always like, this is just like the admin part of me now, because it's a new part of my job on the P3 page now. Some people are always worried that you can't post or they need approval. I was like, no. The only day, it's like, we didn't want it to get like spammy. You can't advertise except on Wednesday, but education is not advertising. So
all right, cool. Well, that's good.
Making that clear for everybody.
Well, that's good. No, I appreciate that because I am a rule follower.
Me
and
too.
I don't want to break any rules, especially when I'm like a new person.
And then I'm an
space.
overthinker. Yes, because I don't want anyone sometimes that whatever, I guess it's the ADHD. I don't want anyone I get too worried about. Like, no, that wasn't my intention, right? I over explain and then it's just too much.
Yeah, well, it's hard. You can't always tell what people mean when it's on the internet and there's like tone policing and stuff. So, yes, but I will absolutely post that stuff there. And if it's okay, I'll post it every month because, like I said,
I think you should
every month. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I will.
Make a calendar reminder and post it. Look at that. Keeping the gap a little bit closer because that's like maybe the cycle of your ROI isn't too fast for some people, but how many? That's a different episode. How many like leads or networking things like this? You just don't know when the timing's going to pop. But you know what? You just got to speak into the ether, right? When you're talking to the ether, sometimes they bring you people like Mandy and Kiana to be in with.
I know. You just, I'm a big, like, not to get too like weird or spiritual on you, but I'm a big like.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's Libra season. Let's get spiritual.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, I'm a big believer in like the law of attraction and the universe, and so exactly what you said, like putting it out there, and it'll all come back, and it's great. I meet people all the time who I might not talk to like immediately following, but they email me in like a year, and they're like, "Hey, I met you at this thing," and I'm like, "Okay." I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, perfect. But yes, like cool. Either remind me what we talked about because then I'll remember, but also like, all right, what can I do for you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm also old school. I hand out business cards all the time. So
you know what? I'm going back to some of my like old schoolness. And on the other side too, I'm starting to save like everybody's business card in like a book because I thought I was too cool for school. Like I just take a picture, upload it on something, and then I was. But then, I needed to just have it's like a safety net. I still needed it there because you never know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yep. I know. I come back from a conference and I have them like all over my desk and it says like what we talked about. And, then I've got like stacks and stacks and stacks. So if you've ever given me a business card, I still have it.
I will make sure to get you one someday. Right. Yeah. There's another good podcast idea. How to set up for a trade show and collect all your business cards.
Oh, that is a struggle. We did a conference in Vegas earlier this summer, and they actually had an app that you could buy and it was like a scanner on people's badges, and it would just like scan it and go into a database.
But it should come with the cost of being there.
Well, that's a whole
I know. It's like I've never been able to use it because it was just we'll do that episode later. But I really think that's great technology.
It is great technology. And as somebody who used to run a conference, I wish that it was around when I was running my conference because it would have been super helpful. But yeah, make it more accessible to people would be great.
Hey, I'll figure out if I can like AI hack it or something. That could be cool. That could be really cool.
Yeah, that could be very cool.
When we start our next show that we're making, I don't know what it is, but obviously now you just said you're an event coordinator too, or we can figure something out. Make all of these things sexy again. Education is sexy. Safety is sexy. We got you. We got you.
Yes, consent is sexy. All
the things. That too. Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay. I have to cut us off before
it's okay.
We have 18 other episodes. This is great. I'm glad that they're recorded though. Look at all this content we have for later. It's going to be fabulous. We will be doing stuff again. I love this, but I do have to start telling everybody goodbye. I'm a grown up and I do have a new email, but I didn't get a chance to put my things to make it all pretty here, but you can always reach me at Tori@paradisemarketing.com. But now Tuesdays with Tori at Gmail. We're getting there.
Wow.
As this is just a podcast of just love. So again, as we're just trying to stay authentic and all of this. I'm like, as I learn these things, I'll share them with you guys. So figured out how to get my own email and all the cool things. But again, if you've got questions, you need help getting to Mandy, reach out. And also I plan on trying to get some stuff together so that if you want to be part of the show and you haven't figured out how to get a hold of me, or you're just like, hey, person, you should get on the show, get a little like sign up sheet or whatever for people, I guess, if you want to nominate people, just because again, this is like only as cool of a platform for people that want to come and be part of it. So please come and be part of it, and keep, I don't know, I haven't figured out like a cute tagline yet, right? I tried this one on for a little bit because I wanted to be punny, so you can let me know. My friend was like, you should just keep it at like, I'll see you next Tuesday, because that's like down
I like
low.
that.
Right.
Personally.
Okay. So I could keep that one, but then otherwise I was toying with the cause I do the condoms. I was like, we're going to wrap this up. It's all like snug and secure now. Okay. Bye.
Honestly, the options are endless.
The options are endless. All right, guys, give me some options. It'll be good when we're the next Walter Cronkite. I mean, remember when we decided that I was going to see y'all next Tuesday?